Okay, we're live. Woo! Yay! So, hello everyone. My name is Rebecca Martin. I am the managing editor and founder of CinemaFemme, and I am so excited for our Q&A today. I'm going to be talking with Katherine Bourne Taylor about her short film, Ships in the Night. And before we get started, I'm going to show a brief clip from the film, and then we'll go into it.
Awesome. I ship this so hard. Ugh.
Ship?
It means I'm invested in the relationship. I ship them together.
You know, this makes so much sense now. And you are such an Alaris.
Why?
You're on a quest to find yourself. You really should be disinfecting those groceries before you put them away.
That was awesome. So, Katherine, why don't we start with you telling us what this film is about?
Yeah, so Ships in the Night is about a young woman who uses fan fiction and shipping two fictional animated characters to cope with the first days of this pandemic. And it's her story just in that week.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, I definitely want to go into like the bits about quarantine and just how it all came together. But first I want to talk about how you came to this project. Like what started this? Yeah.
Well, fan fiction has always been something that has provided me with a lot of comfort in my life. I think because I love characters so much, and when I love a story, it's very hard for me to let go of it. So fan fiction has been a way for me to continue living in stories that bring me a lot of joy. So I knew that I wanted to make some kind of story that involved fan fiction. But I was sitting on the couch, I think it was like the first week of all of this, and I just kind of had this fantasy in my head that ended up being the final scene in the film, when there's these animated characters dancing across different landscapes, showing how a story has the power to connect people, especially when they're isolated. So I started with that final scene and then built the story from there.
Yeah, that's great. And actually, I mean, we do have one more clip. I kind of, based on what you just said, I kind of want to show that second clip, if that's all right. And then we'll talk about kind of like the whole quarantine aspect of the film. So we'll be right back.
Alaris, tell me the location of the Moonstone.
I'm not telling you anything. Never.
I know you. You wouldn't be here unless you planned it this way. Maybe I'll ask your friends.
Don't you speak about my friends, you monster.
Then you tell them that I always get what I want. And I am not a patient man.
Oh my God, I love that. And I wanted to put that on because what you said about, finding a story that you're in love with and that you want to embrace, and you just, I love being in that world. Like for me, it's Twin Peaks, like just such a side thing, but I am crazy about Twin Peaks. Like I've been to Laura Palmer's house in Washington. Like I've watched everything. Like I am like a geek, and it's because I love being in that world. Like I love being in the world of Twin Peaks, even though it's really scary, but it's also like comforting. But there's something that like is just full of imagination and dreams. And so I feel like I get it, I get the fan fiction aspect. So
an escape when the world feels like a place that you want to escape from. Stories really provide that for us. I think, and not all escapism is bad, know?
Right.
It can actually save us sometimes, having a place to go that is safe and exciting and magical.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it's like it like the world is real right now in the sense that's very scary. And what I like that you do in this film is, first of all, I don't know if you could talk about your relationship with your sister in the film. Is that your real sister, or is that okay? Because you guys look alike. So
Cora Vanderbroek is an amazing actress. She like casually just finished a Broadway run in a Tracy.
Wow.
And actually, she's my mentor. A mutual friend of ours, Manita Gandhi, put us together, and she became my mentor like right before all of this started. So we ended up doing a film together, which is great.
That's great. Yeah, because I mean, I'm not going to reveal anything because there is I don't know if this is supposed to be a surprise, but with your conversations that you guys do on like Zoom or whatever, which I love that too, because I feel like people have just gotten so good at Zoom during this time because, you know, like it's just, that's how we communicate. And so can you talk to me how you like played with Zoom within the story of the film, because I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, well, it was important to me to show that my character, Chrysanthemum 2012, is a lot more isolated than her sister, who has a husband and seems to have her life together just a little bit more. And in the 3 Zooms that take place, you see a kind of breakdown of the sisters' relationship, and things that are strained reveal themselves, especially once Chrysanthemum starts getting really invested in this story.
Right.
And the sister, who really is the primary relationship up until this point, doesn't really get it, which to me actually shows like they're different people and they love each other. But the way they cope with things is very different. Yeah.
So fan fiction, can you tell me how that works? Because like I'm assuming it means you write stories based on a story or something like that. I should know this, but I don't know if you could educate me a little bit.
It's so funny because I spent so much of my life like being embarrassed and not talking about fan fiction.
No, I want to know. Yeah.
Who knows?
Right.
So fan fiction is fiction written by fans about a story that already exists. And it's essentially that. If you wanted to write a story about Twin Peaks, line, that would be fan fiction.
Oh, I should. Well, yeah, I'd have to check with David Lynch if that was okay, but I would.
You don't have to. You have to put a copyright at the beginning. At the beginning of every fan fiction, you see that none of these characters belong to me. I'm just playing the world.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, now I'm gonna go deep. I'm just gonna.
I can guarantee there's some excellent Twin Peaks fan fiction out there.
Oh my God! Wow, it's gonna become a new hobby, and I'll have no life for. But this is like perfect that I think that's what the pandemic has been for a lot of people. They've been reconnecting with their creative sides and things that they haven't even, done since they were maybe kids or in school, and I love that. So can you talk to me a little bit? I'm just curious about the actual story. Is this something like, did you make all of this up? Like between the romance of the two characters?
Oh, the Battle of Time story?
Yeah.
The story within the story?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Chrysanthemum becomes obsessed with this animated TV show called Battle of Time. And specifically 2 characters, Talon, the villain, and Alaris, the heroine, who is also elf. And so those characters are entirely fictional. They are based slightly off of some tropes and different characters that I love. There's definitely influences of Avatar, Last Airbender in there, Star Wars, Game of Thrones. But I think really anybody can hop in because this isn't a pre-existing like fantasy universe that you have to know about. And the characters were designed and animated by Banditry Company in Chicago.
Okay.
And
now, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, just one of my favorite parts of this whole process was sending Sarah Cruz, who created these characters, just a whole file of like inspiration and like probably way too much information for a 11-minute short film on these characters. And she came back with these character designs that were just so intricate and beautiful. And so she really like helped create this whole side world with me.
That's
which is
so
really
cool. And how does that, I should know all this, but how does it work by putting like an animation in like a film, like when it's not all animated? Like how does, because you had the animated characters. Like,
I mean, I definitely relied on Banditry to like.
Okay.
I think I sent Justin like so many shots of what we were thinking the shots would look like and being like, are you sure this is going to work? Like, are you sure you're going to be able to animate over this?
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, it's fine. They're just wizards, basically.
I think that's so great. You know, this is kind of a nerdy thing because Disney Plus does this when you like have access to all these things that you haven't seen since like you were a kid. Yeah. I watched that Roger Rabbit or something. Yeah, where they have like the animation. Like, I just think it's fascinating. I mean, obviously that's something totally different, but yeah, like it's an interesting thing to mix mediums. And then, so how did you get a team together when you were all isolated? Like, how did it work with the whole like filming and the editing? And I know you had some shots in other places.
Well, I'm lucky in that I have artistic communities, not just in Los Angeles, but in Chicago and Dallas as well, because I've spent time in those communities as well. And so I really pulled from all those different places because it's a time right now where it doesn't matter where you live really, because you can't see each other anyway.
Right.
But the first person that I brought on was Jenny Hawks, who is the editor and a co-producer.
Okay.
We had met at a breakfast a couple months before and really kind of hijacked the conversation at the table about Star Wars. And so she's someone that I was like, you're one of my people. If I ever have a project, I think I will reach out to you. So
yeah,
she edited this, did some of the VFX, and she brought on people that she knew as well, like our colorist. And then otherwise, as far as the people who appear at the end, because spoiler alert, the end, it finally breaks out of Chrysanthemum's home into shots of different people illuminated by their device screens reading this story.
Yeah.
The characters dance in the sky.
Yeah. I love that. Because I feel like, what your film is doing is kind of, I don't know if microcosm is the right word, but it's a microcosm of a lot of what people are doing, try to connect, like finding, Zoom obviously has connected us, but people have been starting to get creative. Like, that's what I feel like as artists and filmmakers, like, no matter what gets in our way, we're always going to think of a way that we can make something from it. And that's so positive. Like, so I really was inspired by your film. I guess I'm curious, because is this your first directed film?
Yeah, this is the first film I've written and directed. I've produced and acted in films before, but this is my first time wearing so many hats, for sure.
Yes, I love that, because what a time to start, right? I think that's great. And I guess I would, I always like to ask filmmakers that I talk to if they have any advice of like maybe or inspiration for people who want to do stuff, but they're like so scared right now because the world is so like effed up, and they want to, they're afraid to get started because they don't know what's going to stop them. Like, do you have any advice? Because you totally went through all that, and I think that's just inspirational. But what advice or inspiration would you give to those filmmakers?
I have two things. One, trust in the story that you want to tell. If you really know that a story needs to be told and you're the one who holds that story inside of you, then I think you have to. And the story will change. The story will morph. It won't be exactly what you imagined. But if you know in your heart that this story matters, then it does. And it will matter to somebody. And then the second thing is, don't let not having a fancy camera or the time to fundraise for a fancy camera hold you back. I made this film on my iPhone. It's literally, I paid.
Oh, good job. That's great.
Well, and if you have an iPhone, you can probably shoot in 4K. There are apps you can buy that basically turn your phone into a DSLR camera. And so, yeah, like the barriers of entry are being broken down by the limitations we're in right now.
Right.
And so don't let the fact that you don't have the time to fundraise $15K or you don't happen to have like an Alexa or a Red Dragon on you to hold you back from making a film. You actually can make a film. You can, if you have a story that really matters, you'll find a way, I think.
Yeah. No, that's so great. And it's interesting because I just interviewed Veronica Miles for CinemaFemme, who was a part of the festival. She did our festival. She did Best, and she was talking about how she did her whole film on her cell phone, and it was a way for her to really do things on her own terms, not have to worry about like a whole team and stress out about that. It was a good way for her to like break back into it. She hadn't been doing filmmaking for a bit, and then she broke back into it. But I think that's great. I mean, iPhones are great right now, I guess.
It's what you have, you know? It's what you have available right now. And I totally relate with what she was saying, because when you're setting up a shot for yourself and then you're pressing play and like running into place to do it, you do have like the time is yours.
Right.
Yeah.
And how did I know you've worked with a lot of amazing filmmakers, including Danny Weeder from Cool for 5 Seconds. And how did working with those filmmakers like inspire you in making the film? Like did you take any lessons from them, even though this was like a mostly solo kind of thing?
Hugely. Well, Danny has such a like designer's eye that I think if I hadn't worked with Danny before, I wouldn't have thought so much about, it sounds like obvious, but I wouldn't have thought so much about like set dressing and the clothing that she's wearing, informing the world, because Ships in the Night does take place in kind of this like slightly heightened reality. The colors pop more, and Chrysanthemum's sort of dressed like a toned down comic book character sometimes. And Danny was so specific about making sure little details in our diner in Cool 5 Seconds really popped out.
Yes.
But if I hadn't like seen all that happening, those details wouldn't have seemed so important to me, but they actually hugely are, including the world that you're in. Yeah.
That's cool. And then I always think it's interesting when filmmakers act in their films. Like I think it's again, it's a little different in your case, but I just interviewed Jacqueline Bethany about her film Indigo Valley, and she starred in it, and I was like, how I mean, it's like you're directing everyone else, and then you're almost like directing yourself. Like you film, or somebody films, and then you look back at what they filmed of you, and then you have to tell yourself, like, you know, it's just kind of like a mind-bending thing. And
right. Well, I've been an actor the longest, and actually like filming myself and having to go back and direct myself it was really helpful in compartmentalizing.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because when you're just an actor, you can feel like a lot of your worth or like a lot of your talent is on the line depending on how these shots turn out. But when you're also a director, like there's a lot of other reasons why a shot may not work. There were a lot of takes where I was like, nailed it. That was some great acting. And then like it wasn't in focus because there was no one behind the camera. And so like it doesn't matter. You have to take it again. And so it actually I was able to like release some ego as an actor myself.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting. And then we're kind of coming to the end a little bit, but I wanted to, was there anything that you wanted to add about the film in terms of what's going on with it festival wise, or like the direction of Ships of the Night, where's it headed, before we move on? I want to talk about what else is coming up for you.
I'm submitting to film festivals, but I also kind of have a sense that I do want eyes on this sooner rather than later. And so if a really cool opportunity to put it online presents itself and get a lot of eyes on it, if that presents itself, that's something I'm open to as well. But committing to festivals, we'll see if we're able to physically go to them next year.
Yeah. Oh my God. I can't even imagine, like, in the sense, like, what next year is going to look like. It's like, who knew that this year would look the way it did? And it's just like, will things be, I don't think we're ever going to be back in a normal that we knew back then. So yeah, we'll see. And that's the thing. We got to go with the flow and everything. So
yeah, you gotta kind of take it day by day.
Yeah,
because it's always changing.
Right.
But you can't like plan a year out in the way you would.
Unfortunately, yeah. But anyways, so I know you're an active actor, and I couldn't believe I saw you in Lovecraft Country. That I was just like, what? I know that girl, episode 1. What are you, I mean, it's hard to do anything right now with being in the pandemic and all, but do you have projects that you were a part of that are kind of coming out that you want to talk about or hint to, or
if you see me in a tiny house with Amy Poehler talking about Xfinity, let me know, because
oh my God, so you're in a commercial with her.
Yeah, but I'm like trying to keep track of when it's running.
Okay, well that'll be another thing. I'll be like, oh my God,
I'm writing a pilot with one of my really good friends from college about a millennial medium who can speak to ghosts, and she starts a business, a ghost hunting business with the ghosts that she's able to communicate with. So it's been really fun. We meet over Zoom every week and just kind of hash out the story, and hopefully we'll make that next year. That would be really awesome.
Oh my God. Yeah. That I love hearing. That's another thing. I've been hearing so many people writing new screenplays, and I've just been hearing amazing stories that I can't wait to see on screen. So we will see how things go. I mean, we're never in a shortage of content, that's for sure. So I'm
watching a lot of like romantic South Korean dramas because they like just make me feel good.
So wait, can you talk to me a little more about this? Where do you find these romantic?
They're on Netflix. You can just watch them on Netflix.
Okay. What are they called? Like, what's this? show called, or do you know?
There's so many.
Oh my God. How did I not know about this?
I'm going to send you my spreadsheet because I have 25 shows that I have written down. I tell you exactly what they're about, exactly where to watch them.
Oh my God. Okay. Okay. We'll post that with this video. Like we'll have a reference, a spreadsheet reference to the shows.
Spreadsheet.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah. We definitely need to like hang more because you got a lot of cool stuff going. So
if you want to like watch a show together, let me know. I would totally do that with you.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. So anything else you want to say in terms of like your thoughts about the, what's coming up for filmmaking, women in film? Like, do you see things getting more positive in a sense? Like,
Yeah. I was actually talking to Danny the other day about how it does feel like more women are being given opportunities to get involved in film. But like if you walk around a lot of sets just on the day-to-day, it's still a lot of men.
Yeah.
So projects that are getting a lot of publicity and are very like front-facing, I think if you look at just those, it seems like more progress is being made than actually is.
Yeah.
In the day-to-day, like the people who are at CineSpace in Chicago every day, it's a lot of men. And so I think we have to like hire each other and we have to extend a hand down to each other. Because there's still a lot of growth that needs to happen. Growth is happening, but it's not good enough yet. And I think we can't get complacent about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's the question I always ask the filmmakers I talk to. And sometimes they're like slightly positive, and then sometimes they're really negative, but I understand. Right. So it's just like, yes, there's some progress being seen, but we still have a long way to go. Yeah. And then I'm just going to give one shout out because talking about progress and everything, I did a piece on #StartWith8Hollywood. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a hashtag that was started on Twitter, being directed to top like executives in Hollywood for meeting with 8 women of color, like, and having like mentorship and everything. And just that hashtag brought 600 meetings with women of color, with top executives. And I'm just like, that's the kind of stuff that's lighting things on fire and
opening the door to people.
Yeah.
Just like breaking down that barrier and opening the door.
Right. Yes. Yes. And that is the problem, because there was just too many doors and we just need to be like, shove them down. But yeah, so they're
one for the same people.
Like, yeah. So I'm always looking for the things that I know that are actually like leading to progress and making a difference. And so my job is just to keep elevating that. So, but anyways, I love your film Ships in the Night, and I can't wait for people to see it. And I want to thank you for taking the time. And was there anything else you wanted to add?
No. I don't know. Lean into things that give you joy. We need a lot of joy.
Yes.
And that's kind of really what this film is about. It's about whatever gives you joy.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you, Katherine. This was awesome. And we'll see you next time for whatever we do next. All right. Bye.
Bye.